Later.
Welcome to Basscast Radio, bringing you the best in local and national news in bass fishing, as well as interviews with some of the best anglers from all over the U.S., with your host Brian Carter and Hank the Bass Geek. Sponsored by Wild Wear America,
That's what I'm talking
Z-Bait
about.
Company,
There you
Missile Baits, Battleborn Batteries, Conrad Brothers Marine, Taylorman's Custom Lures, Vertical Lures, and Lynchburg Arms and Indoor Shooting Range.
All right, guys, we are back with another great episode of Basscast Radio with my co-host, Hank the Bass Geek. What's up, brother?
Yeah, man, same old, same old. Been working on the back deck. Got it finished today.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, that thing is huge. It's two stories tall because I live on the side of a mountain basically, and got my fans in, my lights in, remote control fans. Ordered
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, listen. You know, as my daughter would say, it's going to be bougie.
That is awesome. Holy smokes. That's pretty freaking cool, brother.
Ordered my deck furniture today so I can lounge. Gonna put me a TV out there.
All right, when all that's done, we'll be in maybe in Tennessee, but we'll be in Tennessee, close enough.
That's right.
But when it's all done, we'll be there. So maybe we'll wait till like late September, early October. That way it's getting a little cool outside.
Hey, that deck's
cooler
cover on it and two ceiling fans.
Oh, we
if
don't
there
even
ain't
need
a breeze, we'll create one.
We don't even need to worry about that. Holy cow. That is awesome, brother.
So I ain't got to do much fishing though. Kind of took this week a little bit. You know, my tournament season's over until October.
Right.
So you know, took it a little easy this week. Kind of resting. You know, I'm old. I'm fat. Knees are hurting. Back's hurting. You know, things hurt on us old fat men.
Come on now. That's
season.
not true.
So.
Yeah. You know, I'll be honest with myself. I haven't fished a tournament in quite a while because of the website. I devoted a lot of time to it, and you guys, hopefully you see it. But you know, the year that I did fish 5 complete tournaments, which were my own, it whooped my butt too. And I ain't a big guy. I mean, I'm not completely fat, but you know, still, it's like, I don't know. I think just getting up at 5 o'clock on your day off, you're like, damn, do I have to do this? Yes, you do.
I got to be at the lake by 5, getting up at 5. Our last tournament, I got up at 2 a.m. Didn't get home till about 9.
That's a little bit more for me than I want, really, to be honest. But that's, you know, that's the whole thing. And that's why I probably don't fish tournaments. It ain't because I'm lazy. It's just because I really don't want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And
it's a lot, man. It's a lot, especially after you work. And the worst part for me is when you have those tournaments like that where you've got to get up at 2, get everything ready, eat. You got to make. The reason why I had to get up so early is because I'm a breakfast guy. Okay, I got to have some fuel first thing in the morning. You know, and so you know, for me, I had to get up and make me some real food. You know, so I got up and made me some, a BLT, munched out on it, and then I rolled. So, you know, it's just, you know, that sort of deal. But I tell you what, the reason my knees hurting so bad is because my buddy, my tournament partner, AJ, you know, he's a tall guy. He's probably 6'3" minimum.
Ooh.
And, you know, he's got one of them skeeters. And in a skeeter, it's optional to get the step where you come off the front deck and step down. Well, he ain't got one, but he's long legged, so it don't bother him. But when you get my fat rear end, short
Come
legged
on
fat
now.
man, a short legged fat man stepping down and all that weight coming down on the knee, it's like blam, blam, blam all day long. You just beating the crap out of your knees. Woo! I'll tell you what, if I ever own a Skeeter, it won't be optional. The steps going in.
The steps are going in. Yeah, I think I fished out of a nitro that year. Guys, I have to eat too. I mean, I'll be honest. So here's my little. I was sitting here. I had a couple. I reached up and grabbed something out of the little storage thing here, but I will go swing by a Bojangles. I'll get a biscuit, eat the biscuit, and if you guys all know, I've been a huge fan of these guys right here for a very long time. O Meals. It's just one of your old Army meals that you remember probably, and you like, I don't want to eat another one of these again, Bass Geek. I know you were in the military.
No, I was not in the military.
You were not in the military. Okay, someone else was in the military. But these things right here, either way, guys, are freaking amazing. They're not very cheap. They're like $5, $6 a meal. And you get about 5 or 6 scoops out of it, but they're great. We met them at the Bassmaster Classic a couple years ago. And during kayak season, I always keep one with me. Whether I eat it or not, I always have a hot meal. I pull off, I eat, and I'll get that thing. You dip it in water, you throw it's a little heat pad in it, whatever the heck it does. I'm not behind all the technology. It gets it hot really in about 5 minutes. You got a hot meal. And it just makes the day a whole lot better when you're out on the water. So
yeah, I can see that. I don't even know anywhere that sells those things around here.
You know what the crazy thing is? We have actually found them at Walmart. Yep, we found. I was at the beach last year, and we found. They make a cookie dough. They make a pizza. They make a couple different ones, and we found them at Walmart. So
that would be awesome, man. Just throw one of those in the boat and sit there and actually have a hot meal.
Yes. Guys, tonight we got a special guest. We got a Bassmaster Elite angler with us, a friend of the basscast.com, Mr. Brandon Cobb is going to be with us. And before we talk to him, I want to talk to you guys about a really cool thing just dropped this afternoon for the versatile stick bait, teaching the next generation by Mr. Bruce Callis. There you guys go on my mobile phone. Go take a read today. It's already got 16 reads, and I just put it up a little while ago. So go check it out. Give it a follow. And the Basscast is done for a couple weeks. We wrapped up our, I guess you call it spring part of the our tournament series. And we don't start back again until September. Late September. So it's September, October, November, and then our classic is in December. It's the second week in December this year. So we're really, really looking forward to that. And guys, we want to thank everyone that fished with us this year. We had like 40, what did I tell you? Like 46, 47 boats the first event, 24 the second, 24 this last event. So, and that's even with other big events happening. So, hey, we'll take it. We're blessed to have such a good following, to be honest. So you say tournament season is done for you. Is it time for you? It's time for Bass Geek to, I think you're going to be said, you told me the last time, we're going to hold you to this thing. You're going to be putting out some more content really soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I hope so. We're, that's the goal. This summer we're going to, I kind of, like I said, I took this week a little easy, been lazy, been sitting around. I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I've been binge watching Game of Thrones.
Right.
Helping it, kind of running errands for the deck guys. Did go, got a new boat trailer.
Oh, you did?
So yeah, got my boat back.
Okay.
From big shout out to the guys that put my lower unit on my boat, Marty down there at Back on the Water Marine, out right across from Bristol Motor Speedway, literally right across the street from them.
Yeah.
He got my lower unit done. Heck of a job, heck of a deal. So the boat is back on the water. It's got new
Heck
wheels
yeah.
under it. I mean, sexy, sexy, sexy hustler, custom built, custom rims on it. She's looking sharp.
Heck yeah.
Video, by the way, just dropped. So go to Bass Geek on YouTube. Check out the video. Just dropped, as a matter of fact.
Awesome.
Man. So hopefully we're going to get to pumping out some more content. One of the things I want to do, and one of the things that I'm really excited about doing, is hopefully getting to maybe go out and drag the boat around and go fishing some different areas, and
Yes.
hopefully with some different people. So, hopefully going to get to go maybe down to South Carolina, maybe up northern Virginia. Got another buddy in Kentucky.
There you go.
And one of the other things that I want to do, and I've not said it a lot, is when I'm going to go fishing right now, I may just stick it out. If you're not following me on Instagram, be sure you go follow Bass Geek Fishing on Instagram. If you're in the area, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to be at this boat ramp on this day, and anybody that wants to go, send me a message, and
You'll run their clearance, run their background check, Facebook
well,
stalk them.
We'll get them out there.
Make sure they're good and not creepy, and we are ready to go.
Yeah, they'll probably get out there with me and be like,
That's
God,
awesome.
This guy sucks. He's awful. I don't know what he's doing.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys, we're gonna stop here for a minute. We're gonna get our guest back with us. Brandon Cobb just wrapped up on Lake Guntersville, Bassmaster Elite, 10th place finish. Guys, we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back with Mr. Brandon Cobb. What is up, brother?
What's up, man? It's been a long time. Glad to be on here.
Yes, it has been a long time. And welcome to our Zoom version as well. So upgrading. Hey, I've gotten fiber since the last time we talked, by the way. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
Yep. Welcome to the 21st century, the Basscast. But here we are. All right. For those who don't know who Brandon Cobb is, tell us a little background about you really quick.
So I am currently fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series. This is my 3rd year. I started fishing professionally on the FLW Tour, though. I think that's how we met.
Yep.
The first time. I think I fished the FLW Tour for 5 years, and this is my 3rd year on the Elite. So this will be my 8th professional year fishing.
There you are.
Before that, I guess I was sort of a college fishing. That's where I came from. Sorta. I was kind of on the starts of college fishing. I went to Clemson University, fished there.
So he's from South Carolina, people.
That's right. Right near Lake Hartwell.
There you go. There's his home lake and everything. Hey, what's the biggest fish you ever caught on Lake Hartwell?
It's actually not that big. I think I weighed one in a tournament. It was like 7.4 one time. I may have caught a bigger one that I never weighed, but in a tournament, 7 something. So Hartwell's one of the best lakes in the country to catch fish. But It's got a whole bunch of 3 to 4 pound fish, very few over 6.
Oh, wow.
So it's most of 20, 21 pound bags you see on Hartwell will be straight 4-pounders.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
We up here on Smith Mountain Lake, don't want to brag or nothing, but we're starting to see some 8-pound tiger bass, I want to say. I don't think they're tiger bass yet, but we're starting to see some 8-pounders. We did get some tiger bass dumped into the lake about 5 years ago, so really excited to see what comes of that. And I think I give them another year or two.
Is there a lot of spots in your area? Spotted bass? Do you have very many spotted bass or any?
No.
None? I think that's part of the reason we don't get the really big fish, because we have so many spotted bass.
Oh.
They're aggressive. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of spotted bass in the lakes that I fish. I'm from, northeast Tennessee, Cherokee, South Holston, Douglas. There's a lot of spotted bass in there. But Tennessee looks at spotted bass like a nuisance species. So they're like, yes, catch every single one, get rid of them all.
Ours actually get pretty large because of herring, though. That's the one difference down here. If we didn't have herring, the spots wouldn't be that healthy. But you can, we have quality spots because of the herring. Maybe not quite Coosa River quality, but very close.
Yeah.
All right.
What I find funny is I fish one of my favorite lakes, really my home lake, is a little lake called South Holston Reservoir. Now, I know Bassmaster and everybody likes to bring you guys to Cherokee, but one time when you're down here, go to the real best smallmouth lake, which is South Holston, which is just slightly north, about an hour, and you'll catch some real big largemouth or smallmouth.
Yeah.
But now they act. I got a buddy in South Carolina, and they're a lot like the spotted bass with the herring, because you'll be out over. I've caught smallmouth over 90 and 100 foot of water that are just relating to the shad on a topwater Rico popper.
Which is very similar to herring related fish.
Yeah, and that's what my buddy tells me all the time. He goes, "Your smallmouth act just like spots down here."
That's right.
So
wow. All right, let's talk about this Lake Guntersville, brother. Yeah, good showing, man.
Yeah, it was a good tournament. It was
I don't want to.
I always liked Guntersville. Like I've done pretty well there every time except the Bassmaster Classic the other year, but I really enjoy fishing Guntersville, and this one was even. So I think every single person in the elite field looked at the schedule, looked at the date, and said, "Well, Guntersville, we're going to be ledge fishing. Like that's what we're going to be doing, 100%." Right. And then we got there, and the first day of practice, I probably found like 17 pounds on beds, like not on brim beds, literally on beds, still spawning. Yeah. And my strategy when I go to a lake is I always try to fish where I think more than 50% of the bass in the lake are, whether that's shallow, brush piles, ledges, offshore, whatever I think they're doing. Right. I try to fish for the largest population of fish. And after the first day of practice, I pretty much determined I'm not going to fish offshore because there's just, you could troll down the bank and see 200 or 300 fish a day. Not all on beds, some on brim beds, some on bed, actually. I mean, just literally doing everything. So I pretty much made up my mind. I'm going to fish shallow. And I ended up, the more quality fish, I caught a few actually spawning throughout the week. But I would say most of my fish I weighed were actually brim bed fish. There was a lot of brim beds, and fish, the bass would just sit around them, feeding on brim when they want to. And they weren't on every brim bed. That's one thing around here when I do that. They're on every brim bed. I mean, you find a brim bed, you find bass. It's just you kind of run around pockets. And out there, it's a little unique because it seemed like the fish wanted to be on more main lake brim beds, which were a little more difficult to find. So I had probably 20 brim beds that were on the main lake that would reload each day, and they were out in the current actually and in the grass. So it was easy. They were still shallow, 1 to 5 foot. Right. They were actually out offshore, or not offshore. I mean, they were 200 yards from the bank, 100 yards from the bank in flatter areas on the main lake. And I was just targeting them I caught most of them on this bait right here, Zoom fluke stick. Just pretty simple. I would wacky rig it. And the one thing that was weird is around here, when I fish a brim bed, or really not just around here, everywhere in the country, you throw topwater over brim beds. That's just what you do. You throw a popper, spook, spro frog. I throw the Yozuri pencil a lot. Any bait, topwater bait. Out there, they would not touch it. I could not catch a fish on topwater. The brim beds I knew of, I would power pole down and just methodically drag that wacky worm around the brim bed. And that's how I caught all of them. But you could catch a lot off one bed was what was weird. I know by the second and third day, or third and fourth day, they kind of, I actually caught most of them. But the second day when I pulled up on a lot of my brim beds, I would sit on one brim bed and catch 12 to 15 fish in a row without lifting. Holy cow. Yeah, it was pretty. I mean, some of them, were 12 inches long. Yeah. It's still a ton of fish. It was kind of unique. I would usually you catch them and pull them off, but I would just sit there, power pole down, and keep throwing. I think that had a lot to do with the grass around the brim bed. There's a lot more fish than you thought were on it because there was milfoil, half matted all the way around it in a circle. So I think
Wow.
it held more than your typical like Highland Reservoir brim bed would, where there's 3.
Yeah.
So
So now,
it was really fun.
was there any sort of deep water close to the brim beds, or was it just the grass? It was just kind of a grass flat, and all of a sudden there was a hole that opened up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was more of a grass flat, but there was 8-9 foot of water relatively close by, which still had grass, which is deep at Guntersville. But one thing I thought was unique. So the largest fish, which I guess is not too unique, but I had quite a few brim beds in like 3 to 6 foot of water. It was really clear there this year, and I could actually see them like deeper. And they all had like 5 to 7 pounders on them. And
Holy
then all
cow.
the ones in less than 3 foot of water had a whole bunch of fish, but most of them were 2.5 to 4s. But I think I caught like 2 fish off the deep ones all week. I could not get them to bite. I had one that I was sitting there for 30 minutes casting at. It was probably in 6 foot. Not get a bite. I'd troll up there and look down, and there'd be 35 pounds sitting on it.
Gosh almighty, that'd make you sick.
They wouldn't bite. So I actually ended up targeting the shallower ones more just because they bite. Yeah, they weren't as big, but they bite like versus those deep ones. So it was a little unique.
How many spots did you end up finding, like during practice?
Yeah, well, see, that's where I messed up a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think there was any way. There was no way what I was doing, the brim bet bite, would have won that tournament. Caleb Coopall absolutely hammered everybody.
Yeah, we watched it.
Yeah, but I actually, so in practice, I saw brim beds the first day of practice. Like, oh man, they're on brim beds, and because that's what I do around here. But then I started looking in pockets and back in creeks and stuff like I would around here. And yeah, there was some fish on them, but they were mostly small 2-pounders, and they weren't biting that good. And I kind of gave up on it. I was like, man, it's just not, this is not it. And then as practice progressed, I started catching some off a shad spawn in the grass, like in a little bit more offshore grass.
Right.
And so the first day of the tournament, I started on my shad spawn grass, and I had one bass for about 15 ounces at like 12 o'clock. The first day of the tournament.
Cow.
I was like, well, yes, I was wrong on that. So I just started. I had seen one of those main lake, more offshore brim beds, like I was talking about, and I pulled up on it and caught a limit off that one brim bed. I was like, man, that's where I messed up. And I realized they were on those more main lake brim beds. And I found everything I fished throughout the tournament. I had one place the first day and caught those, and then progressed throughout the tournament and found all new places every day. So it was, I regret a little bit, because if I'd have realized that during practice, I probably could have had 50, 60, 70 brim beds on the main lake and probably caught them a lot better. I just didn't have enough.
Wow.
So it was a good, I wouldn't say it was recovery, because I still caught them decent the first day, but it could have gone a lot worse if I hadn't put that together during the tournament the first day.
All right, the 19 pounds. You had 14 pounds first day, guys. You had 16 the second, 19, and then another 14.
Yep.
What changed for that 19-pound bag, brother?
Just bigger bites. I mean,
okay.
Well, and one of them, 2 of my bigger bites came off one brim bed that I found on that day. I found it the third day, because the first 2 days I didn't know it was there, didn't fish it. Then
right.
I found it the third day, caught those big ones off of it, but hammered them off of it that day.
Oh, wow.
So the fourth day, I think I had caught most of them. I never found a new one on the fourth day. That was what was kind of progressing. The first day, like I said, I caught them all one. So I think that was just a progression of finding new places I go. It went from 14, found new ones, caught 16, found some more new ones, caught 19. And then the last day, I just wasn't able to locate any new brim beds. So I just caught what was left off the ones I found.
What part of the lake were you spending most of your time? And was that area pressured? Was there a lot of people there? Or were a lot of people behind? You guys just doing the circle. I mean,
yeah, I stayed close to the ramp. I actually burned 8 gallons of gas in the last 3 days.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I just filled it up. But there was a few other guys rotating around that area, because like I said, it had some real pretty milfoil in it. But I don't know how many of them actually realized like that the brim beds were I don't know how many were targeting the brim beds rather than the milfoil. I could care less about the milfoil that was around them. I was just literally going from brim bed to brim bed. And I think that was the difference why I caught a little bit more than some of the other guys in my area.
All right. this Wacky you throw them in. Did you have any weight on it, or you just throwing it straight? Nope. Just
no way. I just used 12. I usually would use 10-pound test with a Wacky worm.
okay.
Class, I went up to 12 because if they got out in that stuff, they kick your butt. So I used some 12-pound Yozuri leader, and I went back and forth. It's about the same 10 or 15-pound Yozuri super braid, and the setup on the worm, I just used a Berkeley Fusion. I think it's called a finesse wide gap.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah, I use a 2-aught.
Yeah, that's standard.
Yeah, if I'm finesse fishing like deep offshore Wacky worm, like with a nail weight, I always go down to like a 1. But in that shallow, I mean, I was fishing 2 to 4 foot deep for the most part. So I was just using a 2-aught and that little bit heavier line, because they were when those big ones would get in that milfoil, they were hard to get out. So
I bet they were.
Yeah, on a spinning rod, especially because it was actually kind of hard. A bunch of them would eat it so shallow and come straight at you, you couldn't catch up with them. They'd be half swam in the grass before you realized you had one. It was.
How many did you have to go? How many did you have to go to get out of the grass when you?
Everyone over 3 pounds, literally everyone.
Wow.
It kind of sucks. I catch a 3 or 4 pounder off a good brim bed first cast, and he would go up in the grass, and I'd have to run the brim bed over to go get him. Like, well, but not now.
Back off, eat a sandwich. Back off, eat a sandwich. Let it calm down. Then cast again.
That's right. It was really fun fishing though, because I caught a lot of them weren't quality fish. They were just 2 pounders, but I probably caught, I don't know, 40 a day. At least, like it was really fun, really fun. They just weren't real big ones.
Hey man, top 10 though, you caught enough quality for it to matter. Top 10's a good deal, good points too.
That's right. Yeah, I really looking at these last few tournaments. You always want to win one, but my main goal in these were upward 30s or better, just to move myself up in points enough, because my track record up north's a little iffy. So I'm high enough for the last 2 to, hopefully I do well in them, but just in case, just keep up there in points. That was this southern swing since Texas. I really wanted to come on strong in, and I did pretty well.
Good.
It's awesome. Go ahead, Geek.
So I didn't get to check. What are you sitting in on points for the year right now?
I'm in 10th place right now.
Nice. Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, but the points are really tight, because I looked. Yeah. I think I'm 90 points ahead of the Classic cut right now, which is a good bit, but it's not.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah, it's really tight. I think I'm 50 from second place.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, Seth Fighter pretty much ran away with it.
Yeah. We know.
But second, I think Patrick Walters in second with, I think he's 52 points ahead of me. So it's close. Yeah. Really close.
Just on those brim beds, what were you doing to go around and find those brim beds? Were you just kind of finding those flats, standing up on the boat, kind of driving and looking?
Actually, what the thing I started realizing is a lot of them were kind of on points, and that the new C map from Lawrence actually would show a few of those little subtle points that came off the bank, because like a point usually was like a bar on Guntersville. I don't know if you're real familiar with Guntersville, but a lot of it's like main river bars and stuff. Most of those were too deep. It had to be like a connected point to the bank, and they were like 1 to 3 foot deep. And I was mostly just looking at those, but that was one thing that made it, I needed to find more in practice, because there was one area of the lake that had a ton of that really good milfoil, and I didn't care about the milfoil, but that water was crystal clear because of the milfoil.
Right.
That allowed me to know I was fishing a brim bed. I could see them with my eyes after I got in the right area. And I tried to run around a little bit and find some other areas, but once I got out of that 5-mile stretch that had that really, really good milfoil, I couldn't see them. I think there were some brim beds there, and I caught a few fish, but I never had that much confidence knowing I was actually fishing a brim bed to run back to the same places or know exactly where to throw on some of those points, because it was just dirty enough where I couldn't be 100% sure I was actually fishing a brim bed. So it kind of limited me to that 5-mile area. If I'd had more time to waste, I guess you'd say, in practice, I could have milked out some more areas and found some more. You just don't want to go spend 2 hours where you don't know 100% you're fishing one.
Oh yeah.
So
tell everybody when you're talking about. Sorry, man. When you're talking about good milfoil, tell everybody what you're talking about when you mean good milfoil.
Yeah, well, I guess in that particular area, well, good milfoil, usually you're just looking for the more green stuff that's not turning red or black.
Yeah.
Are starting to do that, and it's stronger. Like if you flip into it and you pull your bait out, it doesn't break off. But there was actually a lot of what I would call healthy milfoil out there. But for some reason or another, in that one area, it had grown taller, and it wasn't matted out, but it was dang close.
Yeah.
And that's what made that water filter and get clear so much more. Was that taller milfoil versus everywhere else? It was. If you're in 4 foot of water, it was 2 foot tall. There, it was 3.5 foot tall in 4 foot of water.
Nice.
So it was like where I was fishing looked like a clear mountain lake. I mean, it was like the sun bottle clear, that 1 5-mile area, and it just made it so much easier because I'd be like, well, there's the brimbat. I see a big white spot in the middle of that milfoil.
There you go. That makes it easy. Basically, sight fish brimbats. That's
and I sight fished a lot of the fish actually.
That's awesome.
I would sit there, power pole down, and see one swim across and throw at them.
Man.
So
was the Wacky Rig the only tool you used to catch some on, or?
Yeah, I mean, really, out of what I weighed, I caught some fish on a spro frog like randomly throughout, but a lot of that spro frog fishing was when I had just fished, the 20 brim beds I found, and I wanted to give them an hour to rest. I would just go up with them. I caught a few fish. I probably weighed in maybe one a day or maybe 3 or 4 fish on the spro frog, but most of them were on the wacky worm. And I feel like there was some other ways to catch those fish, but like I said, kind of figuring it out during the tournament, it doesn't give you a lot to experiment. If you're catching some fish, you want to find new stuff as you go, but you also don't want to stray far enough away from how you catch them to waste time. So it was kind of one of those things. It's a tournament I'm real happy with, but it also always frustrates you when you look back at a tournament and be like, man, I found a good bite, but I just didn't quite capitalize on it the way I could have.
Yeah,
and that was the same thing. There's been like Fort Loudon this year, Tellico. That was the exact same thing. I feel like I found one of the best bites in the lake. Just kind of figured it out during the tournament. Didn't have enough to go on, and that was a lot what happened here too.
But you're always adding to that database, man. So
That's right.
that'll help you down the road. So tell us about your about the rod reel line, the sort of setup that you were using, and tell us a little bit more about kind of the retrieve. You were kind of casting out there.
Yeah, so my setup with the wacky worm, all my spinning reels are Abu Garcia Revo X's. I like I know like people use those $200, $300, $400 spinning reels. I love the X. That's my favorite spinning reel. Always used it, and so I use an X30 spinning reel. And like I said, the Yozuri Super Braid and the leader and all the same. But my rod, I actually designed with ARC rods. I made a wacky worm rod. I designed it. It's called the Hartwell Magic spinning rod. And it's in my Cobb series with ARC rods, and I made it specifically for a wacky worm. And the reason I called it Hartwell Magic is because it's the same rod I won Hartwell on with a wacky worm 2 years ago, but it was a prototype then, and now it's come into production. So it's my signature spin rod, and it's perfect. A wacky worm's kind of unique because if you've got too stiff a rod, you can't cast it. But then to me, I know wacky worms are a finesse technique, but it's also more the way I fish. It's more of like a power finesse technique because I'm usually throwing it around something. You're in grass, like I said, and you're skipping under docks. I mean, you're kind of power fishing finesse. So my wacky worm rod has a ton of tip, really, really soft tip, but the backbone in the rod lets you get them out. So that's why I designed it like that. But when it comes to my retrieve on that wacky worm, it was about as old man style as you can get. I needed the feet up front. Felt like I should have been smoking a cigarette.
Wow.
1970s throwback Bassmaster.
I would power pull down, swing that wacky worm out over the brim bed, drag it about a foot, let it sit a minute, drag it about a foot. Yep, that's what I needed to be doing. I told my cameraman at Dalton was taking pictures of me, one of the bass photographers. I said, I bet you ain't never seen me fish this slow. Have you? He's like, man, I've never seen it before. Don't know if I ever will again.
Take 3 drags off of a Marlboro and wait 5, then lift.
That is awesome.
Some of them would eat it when it landed, a lot of them. But then it seemed like some of the other ones, I mean, they'd almost pick it up just laying there. And truly, what I think got a lot of the fish to eat it, the bluegills and the shell crackers that were on the beds would run up and start like nibbling and following my worm.
Yeah.
I would catch a bass dang near every time they started doing that. I think when they would like on my worm,
That's
I would
cool.
pull my worm and see them kind of following it, and then
Yeah.
I'd catch a bass. I think it would get their
Huh.
attention a lot.
It gets that just the activity,
Yeah.
the whole premise of a hydro wave is to get the shad activity going. So they get to chasing that worm, and one fish gets to moving. I forgot. I read an article on that a while back talking about that exact thing, talking about getting fishing brim beds and getting those brim to kind of fire up and get irritated, and then that's when they would get hit. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I mean, think about a brim bed. It's not like you're fishing a brush pile and waiting on bait to come by to fire the fish up. I mean, the brim are literally sitting there all day.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if nothing really specific happens, there's no reason to make those bass trigger. And I think when my worm would get up there, they just kind of chase it around, which is usually what reason a popper works. And I still, for the life of me, have no idea why those fish would be in 2 foot of water and would not eat my top water. So I don't know. They fight the wacky worm.
That's pretty unusual.
It was strange. I caught some, if you watch live at all, the final day I found some extremely shallow brim beds. I'm talking like 8-10 inches deep. I couldn't even get the boat.
Oh, wow.
And I did catch them on a spro frog on those, but they were so shallow you couldn't even really throw anything else. And I found those. Those were some new ones I found just during the tournament, the final day, but they weren't really big fish. But the only ones that eat the top worm were the stupid shallow ones, the ones you couldn't even hardly get to.
Wow.
So it was unique. It was a fun tournament.
That's awesome.
That sounds like a fun tournament.
Yeah.
All right. So look, got the Bassmaster Classic coming up, guys. And Brandon, you will be fishing in this year's event in Texas. You guys see behind him, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you see the big old Texas back here, Bassmaster Classic on the Ray Roberts.
Yep.
What's your thoughts, my friend?
So I've only been to Ray Roberts one time. I fished Texas Fest there back in 2015 when FLW and Bass went to Texas Fest.
Yep.
And I went in May there. When I went, it was like early or mid-May, and the water was really high. It was kind of unique. There's a bunch of bushes in the water then. But this time for the Classic, I kind of feel like it's going to be more of an offshore tournament. I think you could do well fishing the bank, probably like just fishing bushes, fishing shallow, timber, whatever. But like looking ahead at it, I mean, it's the Bassmaster Classic. It doesn't really matter if you do well. I mean, yeah, you don't want to finish last, but you 8th place, 10th place, doesn't really matter. You're trying to win the Classic. And I think this tournament, I feel very confident to be won offshore. So it's probably one of those tournaments I'm going to get there. It's going to probably be an idle practice for me. I'm probably going to make very few casts, hardly ever get a rod out. I'm probably going to go idle for 4 days, 3 days. And never make a cast anything. Just try to find some schools out deep. Obviously, if I idle a whole day, don't find much, then you got to expect most of the fish are on the bank. But I feel pretty confident seeing the lake before, knowing how it lays out. I think it's going to be a deep water fishing tournament. Maybe there's a lot of standing timbers. I know a lot of people have watched Lake Fork and some of those tournaments. It's just like all those other Texas lakes. There's trees everywhere. So there could be a timber bite, but I'm pretty confident a lot of these fish are going to get out deep and get offshore and get in some schools.
Yeah, that's my type of tournament. I love fishing deep, ledge fishing. I fish Highlands reservoirs up here in Northeast Tennessee. So, basically the only time I'm fishing shallow was last month. So the rest of the time it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 foot deep. I'm targeting fish. So that's going to be a fun tournament to watch. I love your attitude about it too, man. You're not fishing for points. It's the Bassmaster Classic. You done made it. It's hero or zero. I love it.
Yeah, that's the one opportunity we have the entire year where it doesn't matter. I mean, all the rest of the year, you pretty much gotta, you want to go for the win, but if you know you're not on the fish to win, you kind of got to bunt and just try to make sure you do okay. And that one's just the only way I think shallow fish could play is it's not a huge lake. Ray Roberts it's big, but it's not more than 50 boats would be rough there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so with knowing that, if I idle for half practice and just there's only 10, 15 schools of fish out deep, then that changes the strategy a little bit. It could be one shallow if it's just one of those things where everybody's fighting for the same 10 or 15 schools of fish.
Yeah.
Because it does kind of, It's not like a ledge lake. It's more of like a highland reservoir, like way out points, drops, roadbeds, things like that. And you got to assume most of the schools of fish are going to be on the obvious roadbeds or the drop on a point. So when you only got, 10, 15, 20 roadbeds on the lake, and then a heavy portion of water is too deep for schools of fish, and it could be crowded trying to fish offshore. But I still think that's probably where the larger fish are going to be, and just the fish to win.
What do you think it's going to take to win this thing, brother? How many pounds are we going to have to see each day for all my fantasy fishing followers out there?
I honestly have just as good of idea as all your fantasy fishing followers probably. Been forever since I've been there, and I don't even remember what it took last time. All I do know is it has giant fish in it. Like that lake, I've watched some old tournaments there and stuff, and it's got a lot of 10+ pound bass. It's just doesn't. It's not a real easy lake to catch a limit in though. It's probably very likely you see a 10, 12, 13 pounder, but you might see half the field not have a limit as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's got really, really big fish, just not a ton of bass. So it'll be kind of a, I'm not gonna say a tough tournament, but I think you're more likely to see real heavy quality than you'll see heavy numbers.
Right.
So I can't guess on the weight. I honestly have no idea. I mean, you got to assume in 3 days, because it is 3 days, not 4.
Right. Yep.
It'll take over 20 a day, I would think.
Yeah.
Because of that. If it's 4 days, then your average might go down a little bit. But I'm thinking over 20 a day. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that's just me saying because it's a Texas lake with big bass. It's not because I have any idea.
Okay.
So I'm excited though.
Okay, so should my fantasy people pick you?
That also, I can't give you a good.
Okay.
No, man, say yes. Yes.
Come on, Brandon. Yes.
I do like fishing in Texas, and I have some revenge on the Bassmaster Classic to make up because I did not do so hot last time I was at Guntersville. So that's all I'll say on that.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Hey, we're gonna let you go here in a minute, but for the people who have never fished a Bassmaster Classic, and we always have a couple of them in there, and and for those that never been, I mean, it's amazing. The event is awesome. You get to meet so many different anglers. The show, the expo, the whole 9 yards. It can be a lot to take in, and it's overwhelming for some people. I mean, it really is. You figure this is 3 days of boom, 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 boom. And then fishing, eating, and drinking, and all the rest of it that happens.
Yeah, the Classic last year was the first year I've ever fished it, and to be perfectly honest, I don't hardly remember actually fishing last year. It's so much that goes on with it that, like, as a fan, that watching it and as a spectator in the past, you don't realize what all the anglers, all the obligations, media stuff, everything that goes on in it. I don't hardly remember fishing last time, to be honest with you. It's a hectic week. It's whoever wins the Bassmaster Classic, not only do they deserve it because they beat 50 of the best from last year, they deserve it just to be able to catch bass under the pressure and just the chaos that's going on. I mean, with the media days, the constant interviews, all the obligations. It's a rough week as far as being one of the anglers goes, but it's also something you don't forget either.
That's very true.
Great word. Chaos. The chaos of it all.
It is chaos.
All right. My final question, brother. You always know it. You always hear it. What was your takeaway from Lake Guntersville, man? What was your takeaway from that event?
That one, actually, I have a good one for. And
all right.
I've had this same takeaway from a lot of tournaments in the past, and you think you'd learn it every time, but you forget it until it happens again. If your strength, if you get to a lake and you think something is going on, whether it's a pattern you're used to doing, something you love to do, you need to put enough effort to know. Like I said, Brimbaits are my forte. I've won more money Brimbaits fishing out here than anything. And I gave up on it in practice just because I knew there's Brimbaits. I gave up on it because I didn't fully invest my effort into it. Because I listened to Doc talk and talk to other guys, but I was like, oh, there's grass in here. This lake's not like my lakes at home. They got to be out in the grass. It's something different. When I knew there's Brimbaits, going to the lake, driving there, my preconceived notion of going there is I know how to fish this time of year. Brim beds are gonna be happening. And I got there, saw a few brim beds, didn't see any bass on them, didn't put full effort into looking for them to know that the location mattered until the tournament. I ended up figuring it out, but looking back, I'm like, man, that is your strength. That's what you want to do. So it comes back to just fish your strengths. Don't worry about how you're supposed to catch them on a lake or how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
I knew going to that lake, my strength's fishing brim beds. The time of year I fish brim beds, and I caught them like that. But I think I could have caught them a whole lot better if I'd have put a little more effort into it in practice. So that same takeaway, I've done it many times before. You get to a lake where you're supposed to be fishing ledges, or you're supposed to be fishing timber, you're supposed to be doing whatever, and then somebody top threes or wins off docks on a lake you're supposed to be fishing grass. And I'm like, man, I love fishing docks. I hate fishing grass. But
fish your strengths. That's a good one. Yeah.
Fish your strengths. And I'm not saying go full commitment on don't waste your whole time doing one thing in practice. But definitely if it's your strength and think you're very skilled at doing it, make sure it's not working before you give up on it. That's kind of where I'm at last week. So
all right.
I've learned that a whole bunch of times though. I've done that in a whole bunch of tournaments, and I usually end up figuring it out before the week's over, but there's so many times where I've been like, man, if I'd have just stuck with that a little bit more. It's one of those things though where you don't want to miss other things, because like in practice you're like, man, I got to find all these ways to catch them, and you don't want to commit to one bite for the entire practice. That's just not great. There's a fine line between committing to what you're good at versus spreading yourself out too thin. So this one I spread myself probably a little too thin in practice, and then got it together in the tournament. But it's kind of rough, kind of hard to make the right decisions doing that.
Still worked out for you. Still got a top 10 though.
That's right. That's right. Usually win though by fishing your strength and full commitment to it, and that's how all the ones I've won. That's how I've done it. But you also can have some of your worst finishes doing that. So it's
that is true.
That's why I became kind of more of a hero or zero type fisherman versus what I used to be in the tour days. Is I would kind of figure every way out to catch some and kind of dive around and everything. And now when I see something, I've changed my style more over the last 3 years. When I see something that I like, I kind of go full commitment. And won a couple every now and then, had a lot of top fives, but I've also had more bad ones in the last 3 years than I ever have in my career. So it's kind of one of those things. You win by doing your strength. You don't win by trying to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, true.
You guys heard it right here. All right, Bass Geek, got any more questions for him, brother?
No, man, he's answered everything. I like I said, I like his motto, fish your strengths, and I like the I never thought about the classic in that sort of terms. It's not a point still. Go in and hero or zero right there, man. I'm rooting for him.
I appreciate it.
Brandon, good luck, man. Thank you for being on the show. I'm sorry it's been so long. I apologize, but
I'll be on whenever you need me.
I know. One day I'm getting down to South Carolina. We're really going fishing together. So
come on down.
All right, guys. We really appreciate every one of you guys for listening to tonight's episode of Basscast Radio. I want to thank Mr. Brandon Cobb for coming on and talking with us about his 10th place finish on Lake Guntersville. Hopefully you guys can take a little tidbits away that you guys can use on your next event. And thank you guys. We're on a roll, Bass Geek, man. We're crushing it in 2021. Yeah, it is 21.
Yeah.
And like
don't
Brandon
call it 2020 again. No, we don't want to relive that.
No, we don't want to go back. And you guys know we're a couple weeks away from the Bassmaster Classic. So maybe we can find another participant that we can talk to real quick. And we'll see what we can do about that and get someone on and get ready for the big event. But, there's a lot more fishing going on, a lot more events. And the rest, we're getting ready to start crossing over to the second half of the year.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm amazed. Where did the first half of the year go? What happened to it? Is it already? I can't believe we're already getting ready to slide right into June.
Yes. it's it's crazy because I mean it's like the first half just kind of blew past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really did because I mean, I guess I want to say this, and I guess I want to because everybody says we're coming out of COVID, oh blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
The new world's opening, blah blah blah. But it really has seemed like we're all back to, we're all excited to get back outside, get back doing this, get back doing that, get back doing this, going back to our places we used to go to.
Oh yeah,
and it's just steamrolling. I mean, it's like.
Even as a matter of fact, so, like I think I said in the last episode, I go tomorrow to get my first COVID shot. So
Cool. Good luck.
I'm not here on the next episode. You'll know what happened.
Now you'll be here.
I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh. All right. Right here, guys, before we leave, we've got to always thank our sponsors. We should have done this at the beginning, but here we are at the end. Angler's Choice, Dick's Sporting Goods, Lynchburg Arms and Indoor Shooting Range, Battleborn Batteries, Wildwear America, Conrad Brothers Marine, Lisa Lindsay, associate broker. You guys can give her a call, 434-572-2645. Missile Baits, I think I said Angler's Choice. And I got the cards in my hand, brother. And I think I already got them mixed up. I think I do. Here we go. If you guys are not listening to Basscast Radio, don't want to listen to it on Spreaker, don't want to watch us on YouTube, we really don't care. Just go take a listen. We have some awesome guests on, and they give us some awesome information that will help you the next time you're out on the water. But Castbox, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast. There you go. On the Apple iTunes. Did I have it upside down? I do, Bass Geek. Apple iTunes. Deezer, Spotify, and like I said, the Spreaker Network. Just a little tidbit, guys. Backstage fishing. Me and John recorded another episode of that on Monday. It's another show that we have. It's pretty cool. We just break down local events. We talk about how they want them, and we talk about what's happening, and just different information from the local anglers that we get, and we throw it all in a show. And John's an awesome guy, full of excitement, and really excited to hear and have him be a part of us at outdoorobsessionsradio.com. But he should be on Apple iTunes, I hope, by the middle of next month. So that's really cool. He applied for it. Takes a little while for Apple, but he'll be on. And for you guys who love, he's on at all the rest of the networks, by the way, guys, except for Apple iTunes, and he will soon be on there. So that's it.
That's all I got, man.
Well, you guys have a great week. Always, the holiday is coming up. Please be safe while you're out on the water. Please wear your life jackets. If you are fishing, you're crazy, but that's just me. So take your time out there on the water. Do some night fishing. But
I take Memorial Day off.
Yeah, there you go. I don't blame you. So please be safe. I don't care what you're doing, where you're at on the water, kayak, whatever. It don't matter. Be safe. So have a great night, everyone. And we'll be talking to you guys next week.
You've been listening to Basscast Radio, the best in local and national bass fishing news. To listen to more episodes, check us out on all the podcasting networks. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, thebasscast.com, and Basscast News.